I usually ask people like, who's a leader that inspired them, but I kind of feel like you answered that question already, right? So tell me, what was it about Malcom X that really stood out? Because, there's so many different leaders that you study in school, right? What was it about him that stood out so much to you?
Perhaps above all, sincerity. He was so sincere. Like, imagine, so when he went to prison, and he was not yet Muslim, and he started meeting Muslims, he was given advice, which was, if you take one step towards Allah, Allah will take 2 steps towards you. And it was that passage in his autobiography that actually got me to quit eating pork and quit, going to parties as an intention of getting close to Allah, right? And he was willing to throw away all of his previous life and radically transform his life because of what he believed was the truth, which at the time was the Nation of Islam. And he'd really established himself in the Nation of Islam. And then he started learning about Orthodox Islam. And he realized that that was actually more true. That was the real truth. And again, he was willing to sacrifice everything, ultimately his life, to make that transition to Orthodox Islam. And, he never died with a fortune. He never died with knowing that his family had even a house to live in. Imagine that, right? The sincerity he had in his life really inspired me, and I just pray that I can follow in his footsteps.
Sure, I mean, that's wonderful. I've never thought about it, but you're right. That when he made that second change, that's when he had it all. The first one was when he was in prison. You're down in the dumps. Allah will help you. But the second one is that you're at the top, and everyone in your community is fully behind you. And then that's amazing. That's really, really good.
And that's why, so many people also love his wife, his late wife, Betty Shabazz, and Allah have mercy on her too, because it wasn't just his comforts he was sacrificing. It was her comforts, the kids' comforts. It's one thing to say like, oh, I'm going to put myself in harm's way. It's much more difficult to say, okay, I'm going to put my family in harm's way, my kids in harm's way. Like, his house got fire. We're sleeping there, Just a second.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, really amazing in terms of his story. Is very inspiring. I mean, when you think about him, when you think about yourself, what is it that you think about? Like, if someone said to you, what is leadership for you, Chris? Like, what is leadership for you?
That's a really tough question. Leadership for me is having a vision and organizing people around that vision and giving them the confidence that you can get there. Right now we're studying I'm studying, but we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Apollo mission to the moon, which is just it's just really incredible to see 50 years ago the technology they had to pull that off. It's just mind blowing. And it just started with a vision like, hey, in the next decade, we're going to reach the moon. And we'll figure it out. I mean, they didn't even have all the technology in place to be able to say that. Yeah. But it was like putting that vision forward and people really believing that, giving them the confidence that, like, we're going to get there together. And that to me is leadership.
Okay, wonderful. I like that. But tell me one thing. If it's about giving the people that confidence and having that vision, like, when you're starting out as a new leader, where do I get that confidence from?
Baby steps.
Okay, what do you mean?
Yeah. So, as the leader, how do you get the confidence, you mean?
Yeah, like, let's say I'm a brand new leader, right? And I don't have the confidence yet because I'm first time I've ever been put in a leadership position now.
So baby steps, and I'll explain that.
Yep.
I remember when I started LaunchGood, I was trying to raise funding, and I failed. No one should come to me for VC advice. I'm very good at not getting VC funding, thank God. So we went to Silicon Valley. We met with like these big shot investors, and one of them, his name was Mohammad, he said, "Chris, is this $1 billion idea?" And it's just like caught me off guard. I'm like, that's a large number. Billion, wow, He's like, "Chris, stop. I'm going to stop." He's like, "If you don't believe it's $1 billion idea, no one else will. I've got, I mean, 3-4 other entrepreneurs today all think they have the next $1 billion idea. So why should I invest in you if you don't even believe in yourself?" And it was hard. It's like, how could I believe in myself? Like, we hadn't even got off the ground yet. But then, a year later, we had raised $1 million, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good," Like and then the year after that it was like 6 million, and the year after that it was like 15 million, and alhamdulillah, now we're almost at $100 million raised through our platform.
Wow.
So now I can say, yeah, LaunchGood is a $1 billion idea, but I have that confidence only because I can see the steps that we're taking towards that. And so I think as a leader, you don't always have to have, especially if you're inexperienced, you don't have to have this brash confidence, because I think that can be misleading. But there's an Arabic saying I love, an-najah tulad an-najah, that success begets success. So it's just those baby steps. Like I remember when we got to $100,000 funds raised, that was after 6 months, and we made a big celebration of that. And in hindsight, like $100,000 is like nothing. Like if we only raise $100,000 in a month, it's like alarm bells going off,
Yeah.
But at the time, you celebrate it. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, there's another saying, and I'm full of these cliches today, but
Good.
Bill Gates, I believe, said, we often underestimate or overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what we accomplish in 10 years. And so I think people don't need to be so concerned about the big goal, but make sure that they're making those baby steps.